do. Welcome back to episode number 11. This is the Chronically Right podcast. I am your host, WompTomp. Thank you all for joining us. My new nickname, by the way, I think I'm going to change it on TikTok, is Little Omeprazole. Either that or Young Methamphetamine, Little Asbestos in these streets. You feel me? I wanted to start off this episode by letting y'all know I've found truly my actual identity. Okay, my true identity has been revealed to me, and I just wanted to let you know this is what it is. And if you don't accept me, then, that's fine.
I'm officially the blue-haired bisexual one in the friend group who lives off of coffee and black clothing.
Right. Right, that one. That one in the friend group. Every friend group has 3 people. It's that one. It's like the funny guy, it's the fat guy, and it's the trigeminal omnisexual, multi-directional, bifurcated, blue-haired person who goes to Dunkin' Donuts. What the fuck? Anyway, thank you for joining us to our beloved guest, not officially co-host for all intents and purposes going forward, Mr. Mechanical Player, aka the only guy who's like Arab kinda, who looks like he's never been outside.
I'm not fucking Arab, brother. Don't you put that? I'm not a fucking Arab.
Whatever, dude. You're the only melanated person I've ever met who looks like they have an iron deficiency.
Oh my god. God help.
Come on, you gotta laugh at that. You gotta give me props when I say some funny shit like that. Nah, that's all right, dude. I'm short. I'm French. It's, you know what it is. I have to be creative. Yeah, dude. I have to be creative with my jokes because I can't actually like the ones that for me are such low hanging fruit. You know what I mean? I have to make fun of somebody in a clever way. You know what I mean? I got to figure out how to tear somebody down, bring them to my level. Speaking of French people, I think we wanted to talk about that to begin with. I get a lot of shit for being French. That's the only group of people that is universally acceptable to make fun of. And I wanted to bring up some stats. So, number 1, French women are just a wonderful gift from God. Look at this. Listen to this girl. Listen to her voice. How do you not love this?
Potato.
What is that?
Potato.
What is that? What is that? That's like when you open up a bubble, like a Sprite in a fizz. It's so, but isn't it bubbly firecracker little being? Look at her. I don't care that her eyes are in the wrong place.
Potato.
Okay.
Potato.
Potato. I was mean to women last time.
Potato. Potato. Mais comment on dit
What a cartoon. Guys love that. That's the thing. Guys love that like goofy bubbly girl. You know what I mean? If you're a guy, if you're a hard man, you know, if you're a masculine man, you know, you like that. You like girls who are just kind of goofy and frivolous. And
fat, by the way.
What? No, we're not gonna call her fat.
No, not us. But like people, do you see that little flab right there? Like they're like people unironically, that little flab, they're gonna be like, what a fat dumb bitch. It's like she's not fat. She's not.
No, she's very pretty. I think she's very cute. Yeah, I like. Yeah,
I'm married. Just by the way,
it's so funny. One of my favorite new trends is there'll be a picture of a girl where it'll be like a literal 10 out of 10, and the top comment or somebody will like quote it and be like, you know, controversial opinion, hot take, but I actually like girls with a little bit of fat on them, and then it'll just be like 52 girls be like, this is why. Because it'll be like when a girl talks about, oh, you know, I like a dad bod, and it'll be a picture of like Chris Pratt peak steroid use. It's like, no, that's not a dad bod. That's a father figure. Come on, dude. That's not a dad bod.
This is so fucked up.
Anyway, listen to her say words wrong. It's so cute.
Potato.
Potato.
And look at how the little things just make them happy.
Yeah, that's another thing is when you have a girl in your life, right? Like I've noticed this because I've had girls in my life. I just keep needing to clarify. Like I have had girls in my before. Okay, I just get a lot of shit, you know, because I have like incel adjacent opinions. When they'll be like, this would be what an angry dude who's never talked to women says, and I'm like, no, I promise. No, they'll be they'll like get you to care about stuff in your life again that otherwise you wouldn't care about. You know, you enjoy the little things. You know, they make you want to go on a picnic eventually, and then eventually you're like, I don't want to go fucking bowling. No, I don't want to go bowling. Please, I need to go do other things. Leave me alone. I don't want to go. I never want to go to a bowling alley in my life. But you enjoy life through them vicariously in a weird way because they'll be like, today I want to just like make little clays, and then you can make the clay look like Mike Wazowski, and that'll be the whole thing, and you enjoy it, and that's nice, and there's nothing wrong with that, gentlemen. Enjoy doing stuff with your gal. Beautiful.
Tomato.
It's a little gay.
Tomato.
I was waiting for it.
Oh, tomato. Okay.
Cucumber.
Cucumber. Cucumber.
I love the accent. I really do love the accent. I used to not like it. I feel like you convinced me. That's why the only reason you're my guest is because nobody else will be on a podcast with a Frenchman. Maronites tend to be a little bit. Yeah. You guys tend to be a little bit more
Let me
well
speak
disposed to deal
French
with us.
as a third language.
I don't speak nothing but English.
I know. Je parle un peu français. A little bit.
Yeah, me too,
I mean,
dude.
so many comments of,
Bless you.
Your accent is so terrible. Terrible. It's like, how dare you don't speak that shit into the mic.
You know what I've realized? I've been stuffed up the entirety of the time we've been doing this podcast. I'll get a comment. By the way, now that we've had a few episodes out, I've kind of gotten a base of feedback. I have some regular commentators. I have a regular gallery of peanut gallery people who will tell me, and I have conflicting feedback on every episode. This is a problem with listening to people's feedback. I want to make content exclusively for me, and if you enjoy it, great. I want to be a dick to my audience. I've listened to too much O&A. But people will be like, listen, I want you to deconstruct the atheist materialist worldview every episode. I want you guys to do deep level philosophical discussion every single episode. And then somebody will be like, yo, can you talk about how Chihuahuas are really like they're like kind of like the they're like kind of the worst dog, you feel me? I'm like, okay, I'll do whatever you guys want to hear. Whatever you want, sweetie. It's going to be a wide range of topics because there's only so much you can
the religious fanatic, which, by the way, we are adjacent to the religious fanatic. Listen, we are Catholic, but he'll be like, every minute you need to say Christ is king. Every minute. And then you got to hit the Bible and you got to thump it. Just like that. It's like, listen, we're definitely a Catholic podcast. We take the Eucharist seriously. We go to church every week. We're trying our best.
Although I realize I have a confession, and I'll make a public confession. I did eat meat on a Friday during Lent, and I realized I said it in a video. And the reason I did is because I forgot, and people are shitty and do bad things, and I completely forgot. And somebody pointed it out, and then I didn't respond because I didn't want to argue because I'm like, oh, I got caught. I did. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm not a good example setter.
Mea culpa.
Mea culpa. It's not good. I should be like, I did it bad. I didn't follow the thing.
Just own up.
Yeah. All right, I own up. I ate meat. I did. I got a double steak Chipotle bowl. Somebody pointed it out, and I'm like, me wrong. Me bad. I did bad. I'm sorry, you guys.
Well, you're going down.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, straight to the bottom.
Just go like all it is just confession. Move on. Like it's.
I know. Well, yeah. That's all you can do. Anyway, let's stop. Let's move on from this girl. I like her. I like her.
But the best part.
All right, go ahead. Give it a go.
Cucumber. Cucumber. Ah merde. Cucumber. Cucumber.
This is how she's.
Cucumber.
She's a little bit of a cheater, but that's okay.
Cucumber.
Well, French girls are all cheaters.
And she didn't even get good. She didn't even get good cheating software. Cocomer.
Cocomer.
Cocomer. Cocomer. Cocomer. Cocomer. Mais j'essaye là, tu vas pas me dire que je fais pas des efforts.
Dude, I love that. I love like languages that sound like sparky, like it sounds like there's some fire to it. Like people I don't like when people they just sound dead the whole time. I realize I talk like that sometimes. I'll just sound very flatline. There won't be a lot of emphasis in my language. I like that. I like that little sparky talk. Anyway,
Germans sound dead unless they're angry. Then they sound
now that
like the most animated people.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing with New England people. New England people, they get whenever they talk in a belligerent manner, they talk passionate, and then people think that you're angry when you're not. And I realize that people think I'm furious. I remember I went to school in a place that was not. I grew up in an area where people talk really like aggressive, right? And then I went to school, and there's somebody's like, "Oh, you're just like a little bit much for here." I'm like, well, first of all, since we're being honest, you're a bitch, right? Since we're going to be honest, right? Like, oh, okay, we're being real now. I'm like, I'm not trying to be mean, but it is the Owen Benjamin indoor cat phenomenon where people are just not used to the ribbing. And I noticed that too. Anyway, wait, we're talking about French people. Now that we've officially convinced people that we've completely ran out of topics, let's switch to the next thing.
No. But no, I do want to talk about the New England thing for a bit. When I was doing content, everyone would be like, you're full of hate, and you hate them, and you're mean, and you're evil. And I'm like,
yeah,
I actually don't give a fuck about these people. Like, and you hate Tiny Top, and you hate this woman, and you hate all women. I'm like, I gotta be honest, I completely forgot half the shit I said about it. I just thought it was funny, and I just ripped on them. Like, I don't care that much. The only person I
people want
actually
you.
hate is like Dante's. That's like the only person in context.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, we'll get into that. That's a future episode. We're gonna do a little foreshadowing. One thing I wanted to say though, before we play this, people like so the way demons work, like Satan is the accuser, right? And the way demonic energy works in the world through people is they'll try to find a way to make you the bad guy and then be like, then there's no way back other than to like agree with them and to do some other evil shit. So they'll try to convince you, like, yeah, they'll try to convince you that you're this horrible person. That's what's happened between the left and the right. Is the left said if you don't accept X, Y, and Z insane premises about the world, 52 levels of assumptions deep and that are probably bad long term, you're an evil person. And then people on the right, some of them got through it where they're like, no, I'm not. No, I disagree. Here's my reasons. I don't hate you. No, sorry, no. Like a dad talking to his teenage daughter. And then some of them eventually just went, all right, fuck it, I'm evil. Fine, fine. I'm a terrible person. Fine, I hate you. Fine, I do want you all destroyed and eradicated. I want everybody who looks different than me thrown out. I hate everyone. Whatever. I'm an evil person. And then it's a weird thing is they try to get you to be like that, and the only way to do it is like if the world hates you, if people hate you, just try to love them anyway, as difficult as that can be. Don't mistake people getting mad at you though. Don't mistake you offending people for you being right. That's the one thing. Like
Funny.
it's so if people do that too, they're like, bro, I'm literally so based. Look at all these libtards who hate me. It's like, no, you're genuinely just like wrecking havoc and being a destructive force. You're actually just being a bad person.
You're just a mean man.
You're just a mean man. Well, like C.S. Lewis puts it well, is like, don't think that how good of a person you are is contingent on how well you're received in the world, but don't think that the world hating you makes you a good person. It's like there's a hierarchy of it. So, speaking of being hated by the world, France, the country of people that is the most accepted as like wimpy and effeminate. I just want to point this out to everybody who talks shit about my particular heritage. If you take a look at the battles won throughout history by all these individual countries, and this is a verifiable source because it's on TikTok and somebody made a list. Greece, 89. Poland, 344. Germany, 425. I can think of two ones in there that are particularly interesting. Russia, 491. UK, 1105. And France, 1115. The number one spot of the most battles won. Now, I don't know what that ratio is. I don't know if they've lost 2,000 more. But that is the most out of any country. Everyone's talking about, oh, you're a white flag. Oh, you guys are goofy. You're gay. You just sit there and read philosophy. White flag enjoyer. It's like, okay, a couple times, but I wasn't there for that, and don't hold me to it. I'll fight. I'll do it.
It's kind of important time.
I'll fight if it's in the interests of my nation. Mm-hmm. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If it's actually in the interest of my nation.
Do you know what I think so funny too? Yeah, just imagine this for a second. Obviously, I hope they're not including the city-states of like Athens and Sparta and all that. But like the Greeks,
I think it's the continuity of the actual nation.
Like I just want to make this like no, like if it's actually just 89, including that continuity, they are the biggest exaggerators of
Greeks
all time.
Bro, the Greeks always be talking shit. They think they invented everything. They think they invented. Yeah, I love that. I think it was Gavin McInnes's dad told a joke on one of his podcasts once or whatever. He was like, the Greeks invented sex, and the Scottish introduced it to women. I'm like, that's freaking funny. That's freaking funny, dude. Not that France doesn't have its fair share.
That's actually the
funniest
bullshit. Wait. That's so perfect. They're like, the Greeks invented pizza, and the Italians introduced it to their people. It's like,
yeah. The Greeks, it's so funny. Yeah, there was another one. It was like the Greek. Now, I'm not talking shit about Greek. Like, I think Greek philosophy is like a base, like it's an intellectual basis for society, or at least it refined a lot of the intellectual basis for Western society. I think I think that in conjunction with the faith of the ancient Israelites kind of did, and then how that's incorporated in Rome. Like there is a movement. The Greeks contributed a lot, but they are such shit talkers. And yeah, they really are. And the ortho bros, some of these ortho bros. And I like orthodoxy. I don't even know enough about the theology to really hammer home distinctions. I think I agree with a lot of it. I love Jonathan Pajot, but some of these ortho bros are insufferable people. They never stop. They never. It's like it's like the Romans the Greeks would come to a crevice right in the earth. A divide in the earth, and they would ponder, about how this got here. What is the meaning of the formation of this valley? And then the Romans would build a bridge. That's what the difference.
That's so true. Yeah, we built the bridge.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Somebody else pointed out that I blow my nose. The whole time we've had this podcast, I've just been perpetually stuffed up. So that'll be the punctuation. That's how you put the marks in the video. Is every time I make a very loud sneezy sound into the mic. Yeah, when it goes ear rapey because I just go. Sorry, that'll be the ad breaks when we get that far.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right, so France is not a bunch of pussies. This is a video. The reason that we brought this up is just because it's an interesting kind of phenomenon where you'll have a guy being accused of something that he didn't do. Then they bring them on to what I want to first say is not necessarily a very good way to prove truth. Lie detectors are not really reliable. And you see a lot of these shows like the Steve Wilkos show where it'd be like, did you put the baby in the microwave? It's like, yeah, you were stressed when answering that question. So I don't know if that's a reliable thing. But watch how this woman reacts. Just watch how she reacts when the truth comes out, supposedly, about how this guy did not molest his own children. And then watch the reactions of the people around them. This is just peak slop, peak degeneracy, and I thought we could get a good couple bits of ideas out of it.
I just wanted to add one thing. You don't have to justify the video whenever it shows black people in like a.
Well, not all of them. It's half and half. Most of the black people in this video are not to be envied here. Like most of them are actually degenerate. The guy is right. Look. My sexism triumphs over my racism. Okay, I'm still on the guy's side.
He loves everyone. He's joking.
Of course I do. The problem is like there's so many funny jokes to make just because of the culture we live in, where people will think you actually have legitimate hatred. I don't hate anybody.
That's
Why would
the
I hate
funniest
somebody?
joke, by the way. Like, it's just so low IQ to actually just hate someone based on like, oh, well, you're from that tribe, so I automatically hate you. It's like. There are individuals, and yes, listen, I'm going to say it so Womp doesn't get kicked. You can prefer to marry within your culture. That's not racist. That's cherishing your values.
You can prefer to want to be around your own culture. You can prefer to not have other cultures be integrated into your culture. That's completely fine. You can have respect for difference without completely homogenizing and melding everybody together. But again, yeah, like actual hatred of people is insane. It doesn't make any sense. You can still love your neighbor as your neighbor. It just doesn't mean they have to go through your fridge.
Literally, it's like
whatever, fine.
Sovereignty.
Still funny jokes. There's always tension.
Mr. Monzel, in your lie detector test, you were asked, did you have any sexual contact with any of your 3 daughters? You said no. And the lie detector said there was no deception.
Yes, thank God.
Look at her saying, thank God. She was with the story the whole time.
You probably accused him.
Bro, they did. It was a conspiracy against this man. There's a good book by Robert Bly, Iron John, where he talks about sometimes within a household, the father will be conspired against. And he says that a lot of the reasons for that is because in a child's mind, and sometimes in a woman's mind too, this is some kind of like Freudian adjacent speak. But when a man goes to work far away, which has not been the historical case, women and men work together. Like men would be the head of the household, they would be kind of in charge of the economic productivity, but women and men would work from they would own their means of production, they'd make bread or shoes or whatever, and they'd work together, and the kids would work together too. People owned their shit. They had like their own means of life. Now a man goes for so long to the factory, to day to day, and it says when a man is missing, when that masculine presence is missing from the household, it will generate a hole. And then the child in their mind will fill that hole with a demon, right? So it'll be my dad is evil. No, literally, it's just some subconscious shit where it's like my dad's missing. He's out doing some nefarious shit. And then he says that like wound, that psychological wound in that family structure is what has partially contributed to the resentment and the skepticism we have of positive masculine authority today, where it's this hatred of male structures, right? The patriarchy, the government, society in general, God, it's like a deeper kind of thing that relates back to that family
It's always
dynamic.
daddy issues. I agree.
And yeah, sorry, I'm right, but no, but that's people want me to go on those tangents. I think some people like it. You can put in the comments if you want me to shut up, but then don't watch my show. Fuck you. I don't know.
Wait. I was gonna say, like, why are you even here if you don't want to hear
What
a
do you do?
ramble?
Don't get this, bro. Hold on, real quick. I just want to
Keep
say,
going, please.
we talk about we talk about people. We talk about people giving feedback. I remember the first episode we put out. Somebody watched the whole episode and put timestamps of how much they hate me on the shit. They were like, "Here, you're actually this impression is from somebody else. You actually don't have an original thought. Here, I don't like that you said that. You're actually dumb. This is the stupidest thing." I'm like, "Why are you watching the whole thing?"
He's the
Just
biggest fan. He's your biggest fan, clearly.
It's so weird. And on TikTok too, like I'll collect people who hate me, who follow me to put a comment on every video of how much they hate me. And it never makes sense. It's never good. It's always some shit I thought of 42 steps ago in the process before I put out the video.
Maybe,
and then they'll just put some mean shit. They'll be like, okay,
maybe it's because I've always been a bit of a comedian with my content, right? Like when I went viral with like the 500 cheeseburgers Mo.
All right, dude.
Listen. Let's just get something clear. I find the fucking raging and when people spurging out on me, I find it so funny. I genuinely cackle. People used to say on my TikTok, they'd be like, he only hearts comments that are making fun of him. Like, it's really funny to me.
Well, it's like, of course I have that deep down. See, I have a little bit more than this. I have like the small man part where I'm like I feel like biologically I have more of that thing of like, and especially like I'm a white dude I'm a white dude, especially during the winter. Like we need to like get along with the tribe, otherwise we're thrown out into the cold and we die. You know, we're prevented from accessing the grains, and we're like, oh no, everyone's mad at me. Oh no, like, but like watch. But like most of the time, I don't even care if I'm wrong. It's the most of the time that the reasons that people think I'm wrong are stupid and gay, and so I don't care like about that part of it. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like I put a video out of the pyramids, like how they said they found like 2 miles worth of shit under the pyramids.
Let's hear it.
No, they definitely didn't. I looked it up after. I'm like, that's not even real. But the video, I'm just like, yo, did you see this? People are like, this is why nobody can trust what you say. I'm like, am I your dad? Am I the news? Am I CNN? Are you out here telling me I'm like a reporter? I'm on TikTok. Take a chill pill, bro. What are you doing?
Yeah, was it on Joe Rogan or something too, which is really funny?
Yeah, on the news they'll report shit that isn't real all the time. You're getting mad at me. You're looking
mad
for
at him when we're recycling Joe Rogan for a fucking.
I know. I'm not an authority. I'm not the Ministry of Truth. What are you doing? I know. I'm sorry he wasn't around. He was working in the factory, but I'm not the evil. Stop projecting that shit on me. Anyway,
I agree.
Now that we've come completely full circle.
No, but actually, that's a good point. I'm gonna crash out a little bit on this because I've had people come to me too like this. I'm not your father. You don't have a right to see my kids. I don't have to prove anything to you. I have 3 children now. 3rd's on the way. I don't owe you anything.
Congratulations. We get a W in the chat. Congratulations, mechanical player. Number 3, child number 3 is on the way.
I just can't stop.
Good for you. Good job. Good job. They're all during law school.
I know 3 kids during law school. Maybe
I'm
gonna end up with maybe there'll be twins too because she was breastfeeding. That ups the chance real high.
Strong genes, dude. Strong genes.
Yeah, better be a boy, inshallah. God help me.
I know.
How does that feel for you? And that your daughters know it.
Well,
can we please just talk about that? They knew it. The daughters knew it.
I know. It was a conspiracy against us. I feel so bad.
Yeah, you're right.
I feel so bad. It's just gaslighting and shame. It's so bad.
And didn't
they always did know.
Dude, they hold on real quick though. They did do a study. I remember there was a study where they were talking about false memories. This is a whole field in psychology. And they did a study where the correlation, like you can implant false memories in someone's childhood by like gaslighting them into thinking that really happened.
Yeah.
And there's no correlation between the certainty that somebody has about a memory being real and how real it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a scary thought because you don't have like the lack of reliability of your own existence is terrifying. And if your mother is saying your father used to diddle you, he used to take you to the bathroom and do ditty shit to you, and then you hear that enough, you can start creating that false reality and you can't distinguish it. That's why like and you know, people talk about Jordan Peterson said about how women's like their mode of violence and retribution for people is reputation destruction. Bro, I remember I went to a bar once. There was a girl there that didn't like me from college. She told the bouncer I grabbed somebody's rear, and I got kicked out of the bar.
No way.
I didn't
My
do that shit.
God, dude.
I didn't do that. My buddy was with me the whole time. He's like, he didn't do that. They're like, yeah, we don't care. You have to leave anyway. I'm like, absolutely not. I would remember if I did that.
Call the
Maybe.
police.
I know. Right?
Dude, it's just so wild. Like, they're literally, well, I would have, okay, only because I know a little bit of law now, not legal advice. I'd say, pull up the camera. No, go to your security footage and show me doing it. I didn't fucking do it. She's a liar and she's upset. She's still in high school.
You can press charges for that. It's battery.
Yeah, not only battery, that's like sexual harassment too, right?
Yeah, and it's creepy. You know, and the problem was the scary thing. I was just about to get up for karaoke. It was good times, bad times. That's one of my staples. That's like in my repertoire, dude. That's gonna rock the house. I like karaoke.
So gay.
Look, my gayest traits, I will admit. So my gayest traits, I like the sauna, and it's not because I like being near old dudes. It's because it's like a confessional. It's like a weirdly, the sauna is a weirdly spiritual.
Now I'm getting weirded out by your fucking explanation of it. What do you?
No, dude, have you never been in a sauna, like a public sauna at the gym or something?
Like one time in my life.
I need you to go in there and stay over 10 minutes, right, with other people in there. And people, like old men, will start confessing that they like killed somebody during World War II and it wasn't a civilian. And you'd be like, what the fuck did you just say? And they'd be like, yeah, the screams haunt me every night. Because people, like, there's something where it's like, physiologically, no, I'm serious. Because when it's so hot that you feel like you're going to die, your body, like, you feel like it's just time for radical honesty.
Purifying yourself.
Yeah, and people just become radically honest. It's a very loquacious location. People just start talking, and then when you get out, you're just happy to be alive because your body thought like, oh, this is the end. Like, I'm gonna die. I'm dehydrated, and this is it. So sauna is interesting. The other one is I like doing karaoke when I go out because it's fun. You know, I like being the center of attention sometimes.
Yeah.
And I can hit some of those high notes.
Attention?
No, dude. I just
I just have 120K followers.
Yeah, no, I go online and make fun of fat bitches publicly, and then it's completely ruin future political careers unless the whole paradigm changes. You know, don't vote for me. Oh, remember that time WompTomp said that trans women aren't women? That's it. That's it for me.
This guy needs to be hung.
Bro, I said some shit. No, I said some shit once where it's like people talk about in the comments and people be talking about, oh, bro, like you need to talk about this, you need to talk about that. I'm like, you put your face out there into an algorithm that will remember you for eternity. And then when we have some dystopian, weird, technocratic future where the wrong opinions can retroactively get you jailed, I'm sitting there when President Bigweld gets elected, and I'm doing 30 to life in a freaking prison camp, cracking open rocks because I said shit about fat people. You get up there and do it. I'm out here posting half schizophrenic, philosophical, political commentary that I think is true, and I'm doing my best to try to pin it down and getting in trouble for it and getting people calling my mother.
Your job. And your job, by the way. They did call your mother, by the way.
I have a real job. I have a real job. People like get employed. I'm like, no, I have a real job, and people have threatened to write letters to my employer. I've had people figure out my job and make videos about me with my job. Talking about, yeah, oh, I'm gonna go to them, and you know, everybody docks him. I'm like, I'm no, by the way. Yes, because I was, and then I made a video where I molded her face into Peter Pettigrew from Harry Potter, and it was like such a match where I'm like, this is what you get. Because every once in a while, I'll just be like, you know what, fuck you, eye for an eye. If you're gonna talk shit, I'll just do it better than you can.
Yeah, but people don't realize it's all about a bell curve, right? So you have a bell curve, and then most of you are normal. Most of you are normal, okay? Some of you are getting radicalized, but that's fine. It's not the issue there. It's that the weird, creepy stalking, I'm going to find out where you live. I'm going to call your mother and lie to her to get her to give your personal information and your phone number. This literally happened to Monsieur WompTomp.
Yeah, I was doing I was doing a
don't, because it's the information's still there, dummy. Dummy.
Okay.
Dummy.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Yes. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. I was doing a thing, and somebody figured out the thing I was doing, and then they used that as an excuse to try to talk to my mother to get my information, like my number and shit.
It was a nice thing he was doing too, by the way.
I was doing a good thing. I was doing a good thing. Yeah. I raised some money.
It literally was as probably one of the nicest things he's done, by the way.
Evil. Anyway, wow, we're getting off topic. Let's play the video. Let's play the video. Talk about this.
Let's just watch.
And speak it because
They didn't know no better. They wasn't told no
Who
different.
gives his children good father?
Miss Yvonne took a lie detector test
Yvonne.
and said,
Yvonne.
did you make up
Eve.
or exaggerate any stories with the intention to harm Monzel? She responded no, and the answer was deceptive.
Damn. Look at him. He's like,
Then-
Look at his face. Look at his face.
He's like, I fucking
Yeah. Oh, that's a surprise. Oh, you in trouble. Look at her.
Get closer to the mic when you blow. Just for the
Sorry.
Asked you, did you say something to the effect of, I'm going to make sure you're never happy again? She responded, no, and the answer was deceptive.
Diabolical.
So, Miss
Diabolical.
Yvonne has
Dude, did
acknowledged.
he just freeze frame like a cartoon? That is the same face
went-
he did twice.
That reminds me. You ever seen that video where the guy goes? The guy's like, he's like, I know, somewhere deep down, I still love you. And then the dad goes, ah!
Love it.
These shows are such slop, bro. This is embarrassing. By the way, never, ever, ever go on these shows. And nobody should ever go on these shows
Yeah.
ever. Lawyer up in real life. Never do it. It doesn't matter what. It is the grossest, most like literally, what's a term? Exploitative thing you could possibly do is have your family's dirty laundry aired on public television.
No.
For
Well, she
people to
deserves
see.
public shame. Like she needs
She does.
shame.
Yeah, she does. But don't ever let that spitefulness put your own
And
shit out there. It's
I
not
get
good.
the very educated and autistic Catholic saying that's detraction. It's not because she falsely accused someone. Let me just fill in the gap here. It's not
Yeah.
detraction when you are publicly accused of something and proving you're vindicating yourself.
What is it?
You.
Calumny is how you
Calumny
say it.
is when you falsely accuse, start slander
Yeah.
about someone.
Yes, but if you do that and then but to publicly vindicate
Correct it,
yourself
yeah.
is correct. And you would go to first you would go to another person, then you would go to another person, and then you would go to the church. Right? There's like a hierarchy of places that
In the
you'll
old
appeal.
tradition of it. Yeah.
But nowadays, I guess it's the closest
You
you
can
can
literally
get.
just respond. If someone's publicly insulting you, can just respond.
Touching your
Although
children
you could also do the extra step of going privately saying, hey, can you take this back? I didn't do it.
in the
Yo, real quick. Is this the WompTomp show or is this the Mechanical
Go
Player show?
fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. I never talk. I am a silent little clam. I
Whatever,
only
dude.
fucking interject with funny jokes, you piece of shit.
That's all right. Go ahead.
was not true. So, Miss Yvonne, is there anything that you wanted to say to Mr. Monzel?
I'm a guest.
Why didn't you fight for him harder if you knew you
Excuse
didn't
me.
do it?
And
That's it.
what-
That's it. I said, what?
Why didn't you fight for it harder?
I hate this shit. People's desire to preserve like their own pride is inexhaustible. Right? She's talking about if a man said, imagine you rape somebody and then they go, why didn't you stop me? Why didn't you try harder? This is the most and this bitch will probably be talking about victim blaming in another context. She made up a malicious lie that destroyed and rotted a family from the inside out, just eviscerated a man's reputation, fucked up his
Traumatizes girls.
traumatized his girls, all because of your vindictive bullshit. And then finally the truth gets exposed publicly and your first response is that he should have been more adamant of his innocence. Go fuck yourself infinity times. Are you kidding me?
By the way, this is why men need to like talk with their balls to have boys. I'm just gonna say it. Like if he had one son, okay, like if he was just more masculine and he brought forth a boy into this world, that man would have stood up and been like, "Mom, you're a fucking liar."
It's such a yes, yeah, and it's such a like detrimental thing because unfortunately the case is that a lot of women do not hold accountability for themselves and will try to destroy the reputation of a man, especially within the context of his family, because if she hates him and she resents him, she'll point him out to be the bad guy, even by standards that she wouldn't follow herself, right? So it's all hypocrisy, bullshit, and shaming. And that's not to say that no men are guilty of anything, of course not. But the way that weighs heavily on a man's soul, right? Like, again, Robert Bly, listen to Iron John. That's a great book. But the quote in it is that you'll never really get a straight picture of your mother from your father, nor your father from your mother, right? And if you let the narrative of who your father is be dictated by your mother, a lot of the times that's not real. And he gives the example of a man who's, after years of being separated and isolated and estranged from his family, finally his son comes to him and he goes, I want you to understand that I don't accept my mother's narrative of you anymore, and I want to have a relationship with you on our own terms and really know you as you. And the father goes, "Whew, finally I can die." That's what the guy said. Finally I can die. And it's so malicious. It's not talked about. And of course, the violence and the evil things that men can do to women are more like obvious. They're more, and they're more evil in a lot of circumstances. But the more insidious aspect, the more chaotic and destructive aspect of the feminine is not quite as easily identified, and it's manifested, I think, largely in our society today. And then, go ahead.
No, it's the WompTomp show. Go ahead.
No, when you're finished yawning to interrupt me, when you're finished interrupting me with your biological mechanism.
Let me just make something clear. He's very intriguing. It's not that at all. I haven't slept. Okay.
Well, that's okay. It's all right.
But
that's all right. Hey, real quick.
Thank you.
Sorry. let me cut you off.
You go.
No, sorry.
This is gonna be the worst show we've ever published. Okay.
I don't care. Fuck people. Listen to it or don't. Yeah. You know what? But see, that's the energy I want to have. Is and I guess that's like kind of a weird. Like I listen to I like content where it's people don't get I'm not they're not trying to appeal to the audience. I never like that. I never like the performative shit. And like when I originally would make my stuff, I know. Well, when I originally made my shit, I wanted it to just be things that that's the weird paradox of it, right? If you make stuff that you find interesting, people will also find it interesting. But if you try to make it interesting to everybody, it's going to be interesting to nobody.
I'll put a caveat. If you're interesting, by the way, to that first problem, you have to also be an interesting person if people are going to find interesting what you find interesting.
That's true. Yeah, here's my top 10 Roblox games. Okay. No disrespect to Vance, the Roblox guy. We're mutuals. Thank you.
Covering his ass on his
I've gotten too big to the point now where I have people that know, I have consequences for shit. I'm not just like a little nobody that nobody knows anymore, where I can just talk shit about whoever, just fling mud at whoever I want. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's good to have you. It's good to have you. No dogs in the fight. Anyway, all right, that's enough of this shit. Let's go to this.
Yeah, but I couldn't believe that. Why didn't you try harder? It's like that person should be put in jail for just literally put in jail.
False accusations, if it's proven to be false and done with malicious intent, should carry comparable weight legally to the actual crime itself.
Let's
because
just start with the same and then peel it back a bit.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Oh, dude.
1937 is not going to be saved by the prince. She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not.
That's the whole story.
It's so boring. What do you do? Like this idea that we need to decenter the narratives that have kind of been popular. Like it's okay. Again, this is the idea of trying to be original, right? I made a video about this before, but when you hold fast to the origin of something, like the origin of these bigger stories. Again, Robert Bly, he keeps coming to mind. He talks about the fairy tales as being stories that hold our attention because they point out fundamental truths of reality, Cinderella and Snow White and things that obviously that Disney recapitulates these and puts their own little spin on it. I don't love all the spin that Disney puts on them, but those have been like water that's sifted through 50 layers of soil throughout humanity because they give us images by which we can understand ourselves that are meaningful. And if you stay to the origin of those stories, like biblical stories too, and then the story he talks about Iron John in that book, you're actually, you can create something original and meaningful because they're centers of meaning. And when you try to just be original by putting this constant postmodern spin on them, where we're deconstructing and subverting these narratives, and oh, you thought it was going to be this, but it's actually this. Now the girl's in charge. Now she's not even in love with the prince. Now she's a boss bitch. It's eventually
now she actually hates the prince. She actually poisons the prince.
It's eventually what you're doing is just a reaction. You're not actually creating a narrative that has a meaningful. It doesn't meaningfully crystallize truths about the world that we can look at and gain some understanding of. It's not there's not substance to it. People chew on ideas, but their souls are fed by stories. If you just make your stories like this constant progression of trying to subvert and socially comment on older, better stories, eventually it's like just this stupid inbred copying machine, or eventually you just have stupid slop. That's why postmodern
What
art
was that
sucks.
quote from? You took that. You stole
Which
that from somewhere.
where?
The people are fed on stories. Is that G.K. Chesterton?
No, I made that up.
Really?
Yeah, dude, I'm a gigabrain like that. No,
Jesus.
there's maybe it's somebody else who said that. Like the stories are what feed the soul. People's souls are fed on stories, right? Because they reflect reality on a deep level, and that's why people's attentions are drawn to them, because there's a fundamental truth that resonates with your life in those stories. That's why we care about the hero narrative, and that's why Christ, as like the peak mythology, right? As even just from the psychological standpoint, is like the limit story. It brings everything together into like into the epicenter of story,
I think
right? Like
listen, he's a philosopher, man. He literally made. I was like going through my head. I'm like, wasn't that like a Christian apologist? I'm like, no, it's WompTomp. WompTomp's a legend.
that's me. That's me, dog. That's all me. Yo, that's me. See, there you go. People wanted something profound. There you go. There's your profundity for the day.
Now leave me the
But
fuck alone.
well, you have to be. You know what? I realize this. I realize like you can do the analytical philosophy thing. You can be like a real hard logician. You can get into that super dense dialectic and you can argue that stuff. But I think in order to really truly be profound, you have to be a little bit insane. And some people have high spiritual
Dumb, yeah.
potency. Some people have, yes, some people have a lot of that high spiritual potency, but they don't have a high IQ. Some people have a high IQ and they have the soul of a dead cat. Kanye West is a person with high spiritual like attunement, and like I think he breaks through veils and he sees like culture at a high level, but he's fucking insane.
It's so
Shout
funny.
out Great Dane. There's a guy on TikTok. He came up with that. That's not me. But then some people like they're brilliant, but they're just like complete pussies and they have no soul. Their soul is flat and it's all this super dense dialectic, but it never really touches reality. It's super abstract and disconnected. And they don't have, I don't think they have that penetrative, that kind of older contemplative philosophy that is really life-giving and really
Clever,
helps you
not
understand.
wise. It's really the abyss between clever and wisdom, right?
Yeah. To be both is hard. To be both is very hard.
Yeah. But if you had
and
to pick one, be wise.
I love wisdom, but I cheat on it with wit. If that makes sense. I told you that before. Like I want to marry wisdom. I want to have a philosophy. I want to have a love for wisdom. I want to marry her. But wit is just like such a tempting whore.
The rhetoric of wit is always satiating, right? It's always satiating. Just for our erudite crowd. There you go. Now shut the fuck up. Everyone else, we gotta get the slop again.
I'm lightheaded from blowing my nose and just yapping. You lose oxygen. Yeah, well, no, well, that's it's funny because it's like a good marriage. Like a good marriage is like wisdom, right? It's not always super. It's like it makes you better. You're always pursuing it. It requires humility, and you never fully have it. You can't think that you own your wife fully. It's a it's a constant journey, right? But like the wit, like the just being like clever. Like sophistry, that's just like Tinder, if that makes sense. Anyway, all right, go play this whole shit.
I would love to.
Going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that
I'm puking. Sorry, I'll continue.
her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. The original cartoon came out in 1936.
I just have a question. If every woman followed to be a leader and only did career and never wanted to get married or have children, how many people will we have next generation? How's South Korea going?
None. Oh, it's so stupid.
So there is the highest calling can also be children. Just FYI. It's okay.
Well, it's so funny because they convince women to measure themselves and to think of themselves by the standard of what was traditionally masculinity, right? It would be the ability to provide, the ability to like orient your life around some higher purpose. That can be a career, that can be, like self attainment, like of some higher thing, rather than, being the heart of a home, rather than the domestic and like rearing children and like kind of the fullness of life, the heart of life, right? It's all become this like pursuit of excellence. And it's so funny to watch these girls who are also like anti-capitalist, like they hate like our kind of merit-based capitalist soulless society, talk about how their values should be viewed through that lens. It's like, I think there should be two separate standards. Like femininity is its own moral good that can be like addressed in its own way. because even still, if you were to hold a lot of women to that masculine standard, they would fall short, right? And like this idea that in some cases we hold them to that standard, but in other cases we don't. It's all kind of craziness. The only way that I think it makes sense is like, but people can be both masculine and feminine, and there's a part of that that makes sense. But like, you have to acknowledge the value of the feminine on its own, and that's what a lot of these princess stories are about. She is like the Cinderella thing, right? It's the thing of like, she waits, she's the prize, the prince comes to her, and part of it, I think, has been used to incept into women's minds like this expectation that they don't have to do anything. But part of it is also recognizing the innate value that you bring as a woman, to like a family or to like a future, which is really like kind of what seems to be the most fulfilling for a lot of people, and that's generally what men are looking for. Nobody cares if you're like a high career kind of gal. I mean, at least guys don't anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if listen, like my wife is making a bunch of money, that doesn't mean anything when we're trying to have a family, right? Like, I'd rather her stay at home and be able to provide for the kids than me having gobs of money.
Yeah, well, and like, there's nothing wrong with a girl who works. Like, especially if you don't have kids, but and I don't think like the masculine feminine dynamic needs to be this super strict, like, kind of post-industrial idea of a woman staying home all the time and a man going to work all the time. But like, when it comes to kids, like, I don't think that like this idea that she needs to be held to the same standard as him is just like crazy. The idea that women don't have a natural, I don't know, purpose in terms of like raising children, and that's not also valuable. And like femininity itself, like beauty, like homemaking, like that's not innate, like that, like the idea that that's not valuable too, is crazy. I mean, like, that would just be
They
so
demonize it.
disrespectful.
They
Yeah,
demonize it.
they
They
do,
say
and
you're wasting your degree, you're wasting your life, X, Y, and
they
Z.
look down on it. It's like, why do you why do you want to be like a cubicle thing? What are you doing out there making spreadsheets?
People have
You're
said that
mad.
to my wife, by the way, unironically. Like, friends of her
Yeah,
have
it's
been
just,
like, "You wasted your degree, and you're wasting your life."
no, that's
She's got a
silly.
third kid on the way. She goes plays like freaking hopscotch with her little 2-year-old. What are you talking about? She has fun
It's
every day.
it's such a crazy psyop, and like, people will be like, oh, you don't think women should work? I'm like, no, I think women should work. Like, they should work. Like, it used to be that women worked like on the family business in a lot of ways. Like,
Yeah,
that
it
people
was
would have
one unit.
businesses. I think we should, like, the way to return to a more traditional thing would be to stop thinking about life in those kind of like larger corporate terms all the time. Um, and I think the whole masculine provider, woman stay home thing as like this strict thing is also kind of a weird psyop to take
I,
people's eyes off the fundamental thing, which would be like, the family is the most important. And it's the basis for a stable culture. It's the basis for a stable society. And I've been reading that book by Patrick Deneen, and he talks about how both the state and the free market have sort of turned our desires for infinite freedom and to be freed from the embedded context of like a familial obligation, of like a
life.
societal and communal obligation, of a religious obligation, of actual human life. They've taken us and they've abstracted us out, and we've become simultaneously more individualistic because we're all just like wards of the state, individuals. We no longer have that like basic human connection. We no longer have gender roles and roles within a village and stuff, but also more homogenized, because when everybody's an individual, nobody is. There's no more natural human hierarchy. And the idea that like this idea of perpetual freedom, of materialistic pursuit, of being able to manifest any and all your desires at once, go anywhere you want to go, do anything you want to do, be anything you want to be. It's like that actually makes you enslaved to those things. It weirdly, like, he says that the engines of our freedom have become our the cages that we live in. And it's weird. It is bizarre. I think it has kind of uprooted people from a more grounded, more traditional society, which gives their life actual meaning. We live in a weird corporate, statist,
Mhm.
totalitarian, fucking surveillance state
And also,
shithole.
like, to add on top of it, we've talked about tax cuts before, and Womp's gone on to like this, one income household. But here's another idea if you want to keep it as a unit working together. How about a severe tax cut on your income if you do a family business that you're both involved in?
Yeah,
Right?
and this is
We can
distrib
do this. We can do this. It's easy.
yeah, and this is distributism, right? The philosophy of distributism. Somebody asked that I talk about that a little bit more. What the point of it is not saying we need to redistribute wealth from the wealthy, like as this kind of vindictive thing. It's saying that the way that the parameters of the system of the economy should be oriented towards a telos, a goal, right? You can't understand if the economy is working purely with numbers, purely with GDP, unless you think the point of the economy is to just make the big number go up, which is like, okay, if every other aspect of human life has gone down the gutter, if people's happiness have decreased, if their like their livelihood, their fulfillment, their eudaimonia has gone down the drain, and we have a degenerate, spiritually meaningless society, it doesn't matter. Fuck the GDP. Who cares? The point, I think, the way the economy should be oriented should be towards allowing people to have control and ownership over their life. I think you should have capitalism if it means that there's actual capitalists, people who have ownership over their homes, their means of production, and then they can kind of integrate that into a local and then obviously some type of larger scale economy.
And
But
you
just
need
taking
government
everything.
regulation. You can't
You
have
do, of course you
purely
do.
free market.
Of course you do. And the problem, again, the trick with this dichotomous thinking is people pose it as if it's like completely laissez-faire capitalism, which can have a tendency to be like oligarchic, where all the power accumulates with the ultra wealthy. But then on the other hand, they think that the answer is like allow the state to control all of the economics, where it's like absolute fuck no. I want neither of those situations. And they're not the only options. That's just dichotomous thinking to keep you in a trap. The point should be that you can own your shit, you can own your home. You should maximize the amount of people that can actually do that. And I think if people recognize that as a moral good, that they have a responsibility to maintain in their own life and then not destroy other people's, it would be similar to like the reason that you have a moral good not to, I don't know, cheat, like steal somebody else's wife, right? Property in life. And then you can talk about usury and the way that that creates a clash, and it's a cannibalistic thing with your neighbors. But really, like the point, like we should have a moral framework around the economy that actually orients the economy towards some goal for human life, as if people actually mattered. That's not socialism, nor is that just complete oligarchy. Who cares? The best man may win type bullshit either. I think that that's crazy.
And
Go
to
ahead.
like just to cut it even like more at the joint.
If you probably good idea.
Yeah. So if you think that the Republican Party is anti-communism, we put $500 million into AI from the government into it. We subsidize everything, both left and right party. We're closer to communism than a free market right now because of all the subsidies we do that filter the economy. And there's other things too. But even in a laissez-faire, no one talks about border security in terms of laissez-faire. Free market, free trade with open borders means rat race to the bottom on all your wages, right? There's all these different things in motion where it's so disingenuous when someone's like, "Well, I'm not going to vote for a communist." Trump put $500 million in it on AI. Blackwater says, "Hey, we can get rid of 12 million illegals by midterms.
Yeah.
If you give us 25 billion, can't subsidize."
Well, tell me what you mean by how that's communism with the AI and with the globalism. I'm not sure where that
government funding in industry. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
not
okay, I see what you mean.
communism? Government's funding the industry.
Well, I see what you mean. I mean,
They took
and then
your money to fund an industry. Where did they get the money?
I see what you mean. I mean, like that's again, like there's an aspect of that where it's like tyrannical, and you're like when the government will favor certain sectors of the market and then prop those up and keep bailing out certain banks and shit. Yeah, it's like I think there's a way in which the government connects to the state that actually pushes it in a particular direction.
Don't even get me started on banks and their leveraging. They don't even need the dollar to leverage on anymore. It's just it's all fiat. It's all bullshit. We'll get into another time though. Yeah. But it's so contrived and disingenuous when people are like, "I'm just not going to vote for a communist. I'm going to vote for capitalism." It's like you get communism either way. You just get a more liberal, non-Christian communism with the left, and you get a kind of Christian, not really to any tradition of Christianity on the right.
Yeah, well, it's again, I think in a way they loop back on each other. It's kind of like communism and fascism are two sides of the same coin. I think ultimately, like whether you're holding people together by like an iron fist, and there's this like illusion of choice, or you're saying, hey, we need to pool everybody's like we're all in it together. type of thing. It's like I think liberty is on the end of the spectrum. I haven't thought about that too much, but yeah, like
Communism
actual
has fascist fangs, right? Like it always,
yeah,
all
yeah,
government will have the fangs of fascism of don't pay your tax. Let me just help you out, guys. Don't pay. I'm not. This is not advice. Don't pay your taxes and see what's going to happen to you, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's
Well, I
obvious.
was looking at the numbers the other day, and I think it's like 30 something percent of the GDP is the state in the United States, and it's higher for a lot of other European countries.
Mm.
Yeah, I think at a certain point, like the point should be that there should be some degree of regulation, but that regulation should be oriented towards people actually having control over their own lives,
Yeah.
right? It shouldn't just be complete subsidization and trying to equally distribute everything, or nor should it be trying to take away people's ability to have their own shit. I don't think that that's a good answer either.
And
So
it's everywhere, by the way. Even in big law, like Deloitte, allegedly, a huge part of Deloitte's clientele is just government contracts.
yeah, yeah,
So how is it big law? Just because it's sponsored by the U.S.
yeah,
government? I
yeah,
need to know. But either way,
yeah, yeah.
let's
No,
move on.
that's a good point of how at the top though I think it connects in a weird
Mhm.
way, or it's like on the opposite end of the spectrum would be what I'm talking about with distributism, right? And I
Yeah.
think that the whole point of it is different.
Yeah, and to
Um,
promote families because children will build your G. And by the way, it's like people in a video game only going for the strength stat when they don't
mhm,
look at their vitality and their ability to survive the game.
mhm.
Right? Now, obviously, I'm a degenerate. I'll go glass cannon build every time. But if you're talking about a game where you're trying to live as long as you can and
Yeah,
actually be thriving, you have to put points into vitality. You have to be kind of a tide that raises all ships a little bit, a little
yeah.
bit. But you have to incentivize proper behavior.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. All right, let's
Mhm.
hop to this next thing. I think we went a little bit of a ramble there, but hey, guys,
We always do.
we're gonna ramble a little bit. All right, whatever. You sue me. So this is an interesting video.
Please
So
don't.
I wanted to say a couple things about this. This is a kid debating Cliff. The problem with this is like there are popular debaters on both sides of the aisle who they actually aren't. They don't like they have good rhetoric, but the logic isn't really there. And I find this unfair to this kid. He probably had a decent argument laid out, or at least some decent basic knowledge of what he's
I'm
talking
memeing.
about. I disagree. Yeah, I know. But yeah, I mean, people would just kind of reiterate the same point, and then of course they only post the part of it that is like him getting owned and freaking out. But we want to talk about the actual topic of what they're going off of here. So
I'll play.
go ahead, give it a go.
Relative.
No, it's not. Then everything is relative. Because
Yeah, everything is relative if there is no God. That's exactly right.
even through your view, we use our cognition to learn about the world, and that requires our mind.
Yeah, but we're arguing that when our
We didn't even talk about that point. You remember how you always beat up Descartes? This is
Yeah,
the
yeah,
improper understanding of Descartes.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know what the context is, but the point that people will talk about it's okay. They'll say that certain truths are mind dependent, and I never really I don't think that that's an intelligible term. Like of course if there were no minds to recognize moral truths, right? Then sure, but to say that something is dependent on your mind is a whole different argument. Like you're saying the truth of it depends on your mind and therefore it's relative. It's like, but your mind is the place in which truth is revealed. The idea that there's a separation between this internal subjective realm that projects meaning or things are made true because they exist in that internal realm, and then there's this outside realm of objective reality. There's no way for you to distinguish that, right? Like that's an abstract idea of how things work, but you've only ever encountered things from your perspective, and that's what you're encountering. Like I don't think it's unreasonable to think that what you're encountering is actually there, right? Like it's not. Otherwise, you just devolve into solipsism, or I guess relativism if you assume that the outside minds in the world are real as well. But then they're also in this little fish bubble that they can't really get to outside reality from. One of those things that you encounter is moral experience. And what moral experience is the intuition and understanding of a standard of right conduct, of something that just should be the case, that transcends any particular context. So you can have particular contexts of right where you go, okay, what is the right moves to win this chess game? Then you have different contexts contained within different contexts. So you say, hey, what is the right move to get from A to B? Well, I got to get in my car. I got to turn this. I got to drive to work to do that, to fulfill this purpose, and so on and so forth. But people throughout history, and most people in their lives, have experienced a standard that seems to transcend all of those particular standards and unify them into some whole, some good, the form of the good, as Plato will talk about, that is beyond any individual goal that you might have. And the Christian perspective of that is real. You don't have a reason to believe that it's not, even if people disagree. I mean, this disagreement doesn't make something not real or subjective. It's insane. It's not a real argument. And then they say, there's different arguments that would prop up the idea of a God, logical arguments for the existence of God. You can look at the traditional metaphysical arguments, contingency, motion, causality, whatever. But the way that it works in a cohesive worldview would be that law is authored, that authority, that moral authority that you experience is authored by God. The authority is God. And then you get into the Euthyphro part of it, where it's more intertwined. It's not that God commands it, that it's right, or it's right because God commands it, or God commands it because it's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's that the good is participation in God's being. It's a part of His essence.
Yeah, they can't be separated.
Yeah, and you can go read Aquinas, get into the details theologically, whatever you want to do. But there's been answers to that. I find them satisfying. But what these people do, these debate pros, a lot of the time is they have their own view, which they collect a lot of the time like a Pokemon card, and then they play it like they're playing Pokemon. And what they'll do when they're opposing people in the arguments is they'll say, well, this is your view, you need to substantiate it. It's like, okay, at a certain point, like, what are we talking about? We're talking about moral experience. You need to give me a good reason why what I'm experiencing isn't real. Rather than me trying to explain to you why it is, right? I mean, if you don't have moral experience where you have that sense, that intuition of that standard, then you're a psychopath. I mean, you're fucking insane, right? The experience itself is a fact. How you account for it, and then the underlying metaphysical assumptions you have will inform your understanding of it. But a lot of the times they're not interested in talking about what's really the case. They'll say, hey, there's 52 different other intellectual academic consensus answers, and you need to justify yours, and then they'll kind of beg the question over and over and over.
I swear they just use AI to give them a shorthand answer of it too, but I'm not going to claim this kid did. But either way, because some of it just lacks the wisdom to understand their own position, and we'll get to that later. But to go even further, I always, something that I've been starting to think about is how can I conceptualize this in more of a way that it can be in like a slot version of subjective versus objective. It really is that people imagine that subjective and objective are two islands that can never meet. Okay?
Yeah.
But here's what I've really been trying to picture in my mind. The truth of the matter is the island has land under it that is subsumed into the objective, because anything that's subjective, I like cupcakes, is also objectively true. That you do like cupcakes, okay?
Yeah.
Even though it's mind dependent, there's an objective layering on everything. Now to go further, logic is the bridge that connects the islands. Without logic, we could not connect these concepts together to a degree that actually lets you interplay them, right? We couldn't, I think therefore I am's greatest profound moment is that it's a logical statement, which means logic exists, right? I just had to put that out there because people get so insulated, like an island, on a concept without bridging it further of what is phenomenologically real and undeniable. Logic.
They forget. Yes, and it's this forgetfulness of actual being. I think Heidegger has some good ways to bridge it back in, like the phenomenology of it. But yeah, I mean, the idea, like subjective and objective, I mean, insofar as they're useful, we'll be talking about the thing itself and then the thing as it is revealed to you. But like what consciousness actually is the place in which reality is revealed. You are the being in which being is revealed. And the idea that you have to figure out how to get outside of your consciousness to get to being is just insanity. And the idea that you could in any way meaningfully distinguish between things which the truth of which depends on your mind and things which don't depend on your mind is impossible, because you can only ever understand things from your mind. Like, there's no
But
way for you to
logic can
get
connect
outside
that,
to
right?
understand it.
Logic
Yeah, no,
can
but that's
exactly.
yeah.
We agree.
I'm not saying it's all subjective or objective. I'm saying the distinction kind of falls apart when you really think about it.
Yeah.
And I think that just that underlying assumption just makes so many things ridiculous and confusing. When the reality would be like the being is revealed to you, and then the point of philosophy is to give an account for it. The point is just to kind of give an explanation of the thing. This whole subjective objective wormhole rabbit hole, I think, is not productive, and I think it comes from that Cartesian dualism. And I think the whole Enlightenment metaphysics has just made things incredibly confusing and it's almost like incurable for some people to even get around.
Once they touch it, it
Once
like
they touch
corrupts their
it's
intellect.
yeah. I think it's poison and slop, and I think we're eventually going to get out of it. But it's just caused so many problems. Yeah, go ahead. I mean,
when our minds tell us that justice is real, our minds are in touch with reality.
I actually, in here, I will hit Cliff real quick. That's not even that good of an argument. There's a better way to phrase that. Right?
Yeah. What would you say?
So he's trying to say the appeal to conscience. I would go further to the appeal of the concept of conscience in justice, in morality, and other things of that. Because we even have this concept, there is an objective underpinning. And we're informed of it intentionally through divine being. That's our article of faith, right? Because if you're going to make an article of faith, because it always will be, if you're making Christianity or anything else as your centerpiece in your tabernacle, you have to admit the article of faith, which is the intentionality of the moral law shown to you through Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you have faith in that. You have faith in that it's real, and then you put your faith and trust in it. But I think what Cliff is saying, to give him to Steelman, what he's saying is he's talking about, like, yes, it does depend on your mind to recognize it, but that doesn't mean the truth of it is contingent on your perspective. Your perspective is of the moral law.
I agree.
And it's like that's the reality. That is your primary datum is your experience, right? People experience that standard. The idea that you have to justify its existence is weird. It'd be like asking, like, explain why 2 + 2 is 4. At a certain point, it's like, well, just look at it.
Yeah,
I mean,
and he may have cut it out, but the key thing was the wording of it, not doing that additional step of saying that it calls to the objective of concept, then the intentionality, then the article of faith, right? Not to bog it down. I know it's rhetoric. I know they're in a public display.
Yeah.
But it's important. If we're going to make theological claims, it's important.
And of course, this is
sorry.
This is see, it's not. He says it's assuming your own conclusion. It's not assuming your own conclusion that the moral law is real. Like you that's just the way that you experience it. Like, we're forgetting about the thing that we're talking about in a weird way. It's just like abstract and floaty. It's like you experience a standard of an ought, which cannot be accounted for by any is. Right? There's no amount of like facts that you can accumulate about the world that'll give you
nothing.
Yes, there's no. So it's like, what is our explanation of that? Either we explain it, either we think that we're encountering something real, or we don't, or we explain it away. We don't have to justify the existence itself.
By the way, he does the same thing. He assumes his own conclusion later, and you're going to see it, guys. Just write in the comments if you predict it.
No, I am not doing that. That's so fallacious it's scary.
Whatever. It's just funny. He's a good. Cliff is a good debater. He's very hard to, I think, dismantle. I mean, he's just been doing it for years. But this is the difference. I know. This is the difference between, I think, a good debater and just like a person who probably, like, this kid probably knows more about what he's talking about, at least in the intellectual way, at least in terms of the academic literature and stuff. And like, but fuck that. That doesn't mean anything. Like consensus or authority arguments don't mean anything. Like, I hear people talk about, well, philosophers think this, or some philosophers think this. I don't care. What the fuck does that have to do with anything in reality, truth at all?
What's the logic of it?
As if we like necessarily have progressed in our thinking, or as if the truth in any way depends on what large groups of people or authorities say about it. Anyway, let's move on. I don't want to even talk about it anymore.
Can we just get to the really funny part where the kid explains himself? So. Thank you.
River to you. All right, communication breaks down when you talk like that, sir. Let's talk intelligently. Stick on the rational level.
It is pretty funny too. The crash out. Hold on, wait more.
Oh, you're rational, yeah, but not when you go. Blah, 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 blah. That's not rational.
I mean, I'm just mocking things you're saying.
See, first the looking down at the floor, can't make eye contact. But hold on, I'm not gonna do ad hominem all the way. It's just wait.
I know you're mocking things I'm saying. Now try and give me the reason for it. Mocking is not a good argument. Mocking is not a good argument. You got that? Or do they teach that mocking is a good argument?
I think they should.
No.
See, that's the disingenuous bullshit of when, like, listen, we can be charitable to certain ideas and we can try to give him Steelman his position to kind of argue it down properly. But when you're saying, but mocking is a good position, you're upset, you couldn't make eye contact, it's okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, he got a little bit flustered, and of course, that's the part of the video that they post. You don't know the context. Of course, they're going to do the little clip piece of it, the the eye candy part of it. But it's like, yeah, a lot of these like kind of left-leaning, moral anti-realist, atheist, debate bro, college students are the most insufferable, disagreeable people that you've ever met, and they believe really nothing. They barely believe their own position. And they're more interested in trying to dismantle and point out internal contradictions in other people's worldviews. And then they do this thing where it's just like they just whenever you explain something, like they'll never acknowledge anything that you're saying. If they don't agree with it, they'll just continually ask for explanation. It's a lot of question begging. Most of it's not good faith. There's a lot of them on TikTok. And even though they are intelligent people, I think that there's just a spiritual resentment there in a lot of ways that coincides with the intellectual, which might prevent like kind of good faith discussions from happening. But I don't want to assume that about him because I don't know. But go to the next point. I just want to see.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thanks for your honesty. Why are you wasting your time talking to me if I'm such an idiot?
10 hours later. Why? Because it's mind-dependent morality.
Okay, the mind-dependent thing. Okay, he's crashing out. It's fine. He's gonna do another video that Womp and I were talking about before the show. We're not gonna bring it on. It's too much to unpack. But there's a key phrase he says here, Womp, and I want you to just hit the point on it, right? He says, there's, even if you're a moral, if you're subjectivist like me, you can still ascribe the moral law as being true in and of itself. Sui juris, right? It governs itself. What's the big issue with that, Womp? Yeah, I'm steel manning it. I'm saying, remember, he goes on and he does his video and he says, oh, it's sui juris by myself. The issue is this. That's an article of faith. That the moral law that you have, first off, the article of faith that you understand the moral law, and then the further article of faith that not only it's revealed to you, that it actually is justified by itself. You might as well just pray to God.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. Well, I mean, and the other piece of it, the distinction between, like the Catholic or the Christian view, right, is that like the mind is the more fundamental reality, right? Like when you're talking about mind dependent, like this idea that the truth depends on your recognition of it. It's like, no, the truth exists, and then your mind is the place in which it is revealed, right? So like the idea that because you need a mind to witness something, therefore the thing's existence or its reality or its truth content depends on your mind, is assuming like a weird either Cartesian view or a materialist view that, like, that's not what Christians believe. That's not what theists believe for the most part. They believe that truth is grounded in God and that our reality is most fundamentally grounded in the mind of God. So that would be the mind in which it depends. And ultimately, when it comes to God as like the basis, the infinite fullness of being out of which everything else proceeds, that is the ground of reality that we're talking about, not my mind's recognition of it. My mind is the place in which that is revealed. It is a summit, metaphysically, where those things are illuminated. But that doesn't mean that their existence or reality depends on their revelation to me. In fact, the reason that you can further understand truth is because it does not depend on your mind. Your mind is further investigating and penetrating into it. And that would be
we discover
yeah, and that's the difference. That's actually the fundamental difference in the ancient starting point of philosophy, which is wonder, which is revelation at being as it is revealed to you. They just took it as a given because it seems like it's a given. And then the modern view, which is skepticism, where it's, you need to prove to me the existence or the validity of outside reality from my subjective standpoint. Once you create that separation, it's very hard and confusing to bring them back together. So anyway, I think that's good for this. Let's see. Is there anything else we had to talk about here?
That really hits the main point because I just think it's so funny, right? That they will go on to say how we are the anti-science group, that we even though we Catholics claim it's a calculated risk, it's an article of faith, right?
Yeah.
The claim that moral law is the truth is probably the biggest article of faith you could ever do without admitting to God.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Can we just think of this is the clever, not wise thing we've talked about.
Yeah, and it's not, like, people don't understand it. It's like, if you're a true subjectivist and you believe that, your moral attitudes are only made true by the fact that you hold them, or your moral ideas are only made true by the fact of your attitude or intentionality,
Differentialism.
then think about what that actually entails when it comes to, like, making it relative for your life, like your experience. Now, do you really think that, like, a child predator, that moral truth, like, their moral perspective is just as valid as yours? It's like, no. And, like, these guys, I guess, a lot of them, I think, the higher level academics will get that, but, like, the day to day people, they don't realize what that actually entails. It's like, if there is no ultimate objective grounding standard for morality, then it is a fucking free for all. It actually is. If there is no real moral truth that is the basis for your that would be the basis or the standard by which anyone else is more right than anyone else, right? Then when you talk about all these moral issues that you supposedly care about, what you're talking about is preferences, and then some people just have a different preference, and really it's just selfishness at that point. It's like, we're not even talking about morality, really, unless you just want to redefine it in that way, but that's not really the way that you experience it. So anyway, let's move on to the next thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
finally! Love brain rot. We love brain rot.
This is it's just so gay. It's just play it, just play it. First of all, okay, what type of shit is this? I'm getting sick of these influencer
Someone in the
dudes. You see
comments
a lot.
tell us, what the fuck is this mask? And why is
What
it
is it?
purple? Because that's blue light as well.
It's just so goofy because it's like, what? Why? First of all, why when black dudes get money, right? It's always like this, and maybe it's a southern thing too.
It's some black dudes, by the way.
But yeah, no, every black guy. No, it's
Every
like when
single
white
one.
dudes. When white dudes get money, a lot of the time when white dudes get rich, they just have like 3 T-shirts and they have like a Toyota Camry. And then they just go about their life and they put everything in real estate. There's a lot of when black dudes get money, they get a closet full of 472 pairs of shoes. They get a fucking Darth Vader mask that they sleep in, going to sleep looking like neon Kylo Ren for no reason. And I've noticed there's a bunch of these influencers now, and of course there's some white dudes who do it too, these like alpha guys, who their whole life is just this very lavish, luxurious, effeminate existence. It is so gay to just every single aspect of your life is just blowing money on self-care. Ew, bro. Ew, what are you doing?
In, bro. I'm hooked in. And listen,
No,
I
you're
get it. I'm a
not.
fat troll. I'm a fat troll. I get it. I should work out. But this is not the answer.
Are you a princess? Are you a princess? Getting pedicure? Like, look at it's so excessive and goofy. Be ugly. A man should be ugly and take poor care of himself, and then die at 52 from heart disease and bald from stress.
This
All right?
guy.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
This
I'm not
guy.
serious. But at a certain point, like the self-care thing, the like taking care of yourself, it just gets a little bit excessive.
It's just
I
so
get it.
self-ingratiating. It's like, come on, just work. Just do the work you have to do. And listen, don't be a slob like me. Lose the weight. Like, I need to do it too for my kids. Someone in the comments is like, I'm a dad of 5. You need to do it too. Yes, I'll work on it.
You have a reason, a pretty stressful existence right now, and I get it, but yeah, this is just it's just silly. I mean, I get it. I like Kevin Samuels too, right?
Dude, I don't even drink beer. Imagine if I drank soda or beer. I'm fucked. This is on clean eating.
All right. You're getting a little excited right now. Okay,
Sorry.
Take it down.
I need to tone down my calories. Let's play this.
You seem like you've been drinking.
Wait for it.
What the fuck? Why would you put that much fruit in a bowl for him to just dunk his head in? What is this shit?
You spoiled it. Let them have a reaction.
Nobody's watching this physically. Everybody's got this on headphones right now. He's dunking his head in a bowl full of fruit with ice. That doesn't do anything. That actually doesn't do anything. It's so excessive. I get it though. You know what it is? It's flexing it. It's for the optics of it, like obviously, but like it's just promoting. Like so much of people's desires, so much of what people want is just incepted into their head. Fullness, fellas. Jonathan Peugeot said this the other day. Who enjoys food more? Is it a king at his 5th banquet this week where he can eat whatever he wants, or a monk who's been fasting for 3 days who has 1 piece of bread? Who actually gets more pleasure from that? It's the monk. And the reason is that in order to be full, you have to empty yourself out a bit, right? And that's the truth that's brought together in Christ in its fullness. But this constant desire for like increasing levels of material pleasure and this kind of transcendent attitude towards your life where it's like, I got to get to the next level. I got to hustle and grind to get a hotter girlfriend and a bigger car. And I got to be like freaking Antonio, whatever, on TikTok, who's jacked and he puts his head in a bowl of fruit every day and he drinks water
Dude, that's actually
that's
a thing.
imported from Sweden. Yeah. It's stupid. It's stupid. I got to get a red light, purple light, Darth Vader in the morning mass to keep my skin. It's like you're not going to be happy. It's just excessive and stupid. At a certain point, and this is the fullness of that. This is the fullest part of it. It's the let them eat cake,
So much
decadent bullshit
vanity.
lifestyle.
But
Yeah. But it is. It's like it's not actually making you happy. Like you're programmed for an infinite desire for novelty and new shit and transcendence, and then eventually you just end up doing the most ridiculous morning routines. Like you see women doing it too. It's like, let me do my yoga and then blow $300 on a pedicure and then sit in a hot tub. That's my lifestyle.
it's so funny.
Give me a break.
You know, it's so funny though. This is like if a white person did this, and I'm gonna say this for you, right? Like 40 years ago, the first thing you would
Yeah.
hear in the comments is there are starving children in Africa. I guarantee
Yeah, they
you,
would.
not one comment on this video, we could scroll for hours, will say, "Excuse me, sir, there are starving children in Africa. Could you give some of that?" Because watch what he does.
Yeah, there's you could say there's starving children in South Africa, white children, and this African American gentleman is doing this here in the States. This is unacceptable.
Dude, and by the way, the sleeve, like, like they're trying to act like she's the hottest thing. Oh my god, his woman's his maid, so submissive. My wife mogs, and you've seen it. You've seen my wife. She mogs that girl every day of the week.
Oh, there's no
It's very
tattoos.
close.
It's a big plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pause it real quick. You can play it. Hold on. We don't want to pause there.
Oh,
All right,
no,
pause it
you-
real quick.
Okay. You don't want.
Yeah, no, and I'm just gonna say it's like I think the way to a happier life a lot of the time is just more simplicity. It's just like this excessive shit is just not gonna do it. If you want to be happier, like remove stuff from your life, remove distractions,
think this
figure
guy's
out how to
broke.
be content with less. I know this is some brokey ass conversation, right? This is the brokest shit I've ever said. It's figure out how to be more satisfied with
I was
less.
talking
But
about
it's
this
true.
guy. I was talking about the
No.
guy. The
Oh, yeah, no,
I
because
think
that is
he's broke. I think it's posture.
that is some funny shit. You know, there's a good bit when it comes to girls. It's like I don't want to be broke because then when I want to be romantic, I have to be creative. It's like when you got money, you just go. We fly to Dubai. You don't have to make like a collage of pictures. Build her a little picture frame and put it on the wall. You don't have to come up with no clever poems. You
Michelin
just go.
star. See you there.
You just go to the nicest hotel. Oh, this is so romantic and thoughtful. It's like I didn't think about it a bit. Yeah, I saw actually a post under one of these posts of these guys, and they were saying, this guy paid me to do marketing for his brand, and he is actually broke and lazy as shit. This is just like all optics. I think it has to be. It is funny. No, but I want to say the last thing. I think we can end it here. Yeah, I don't have too much else to say about this.
No, there's really no. Don't do it to me. There's one more part.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
Wait. By the way, this is so funny. Okay, wait. Think of this, guys. He just got a pair of new sneakers. Look. Why are you putting
No
your bare
socks.
feet?
No socks is crazy. No socks. That's why he has to keep getting a new pair of shoes every day. It's because he
That's
fucking
what
wears
I'm
them out.
saying.
Because he doesn't have any socks. That's what he has to do. It's so stupid. All right.
I bought these
That's
for
it.
you when you were out.
That's it. We'll pause it here. Let's put it.
Okay. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, this is the problem of excess. I think if you actually want to be happier, you have to rid your life of excess and live a more simple, like spiritually humble and meek existence.
I'm curious.
And because that'll actually lead you to happiness. Yeah. Simple pleasures, right? And I think that actually, like, if you try to remove your desire for a lot of those like materialistic things, like you end up just a lot happier than people who just continually pursue them because you'll never be satisfied with that. And only when you quiet it down in your life can you really hear the music. Otherwise, it's just noise all the time. It's just bullshit and noise. You just find a different noise to put on, and that's all a lot of this shit is just noise. It's what materialism is. So All right, I have no more thoughts. That's it. Thank you for coming to the Chronically Right podcast. Oh shit, we have another thing. All right, let it play. Let it play. We'll do one more. I'm just trying to get out of here. I'm
Watch
freaking
this
tired now.
clip
Whatever.
and look you in the eye and tell you that God is not real and that the spiritual realm is fake and a fairy tale.
I'm Taryn Swain. I'm a mother of 6, and the Ventura County Public School socially transitioned my daughter without my consent.
Pause it real quick.
She did say social.
All right, now I'm brought back in. Now I'm attentive. I don't give a shit. If somebody, like, okay, what this actually means is without the moral purview, without the guidance of the parents, the school started telling a little girl or a little boy, right? She said daughter, right? Yeah. A little girl that she's a boy and everyone's going to call her a boy. And they said nothing to the parents. The idea that the school and the state has the authority to usurp a parent's guidance over their child like that without checking in with them is fucking insane. That is insane. I would be livid. I would be livid with that. The fact that that's even controversial blows my mind. Go ahead.
I'm come here today to offer nothing but prayer, and I want to lift up my Father in heaven. Father God, I just come to you in Jesus' name. I pray, Father, that you would tear...
Bro, it's so crazy. Yo, this is Screw Tape Letters in real life, bro. That's Wormwood in the background.
Yeah, Wormwood.
Wormwood's holding Our Bodies, Our Choices up in the background. This is straight demonic, bro. You hear, and the girl will say in a second, you hear the second that this woman brings up the name of Jesus, the whole crowd goes ballistic. Everybody loses their mind. And it's like, you know what it is, bro? It's this weird thing of like, offense and irritation a lot of the times is like demonic, where it's like people get mad at you if you're correct and you're belligerent about it, and it's just straight up. Like the light burns them, right? Like the actual truth hurts so much because a lot of people are in. No, dead ass. That's what exactly it is. And you hear everybody losing their shit. It's like when you're in the darkness, the light blinds you and burns you. And I said this before because I stole it from Jonathan Peugeot. The fires of hell and the fires of Pentecost are the same fires, right? So the love of God, like the truth, is what like these people just they freak out at it and they hate it and they want to destroy it. And that's that slave morality that's common today, where when people see a higher moral calling, when people see ironic, the truth. Yeah, well, like, you know, and that's the offensive. Like when you tell people like, hey, stay married and don't just leave because you're not happy, they'll be offended. They're offended at the higher moral calling. And that's what this lady is representing right now by calling on Jesus in this circumstance. And they're just they just hate her. They just actually hate her. And it's so funny to watch like actual spiritual things play out in real life. I've never seen a pro-choice person get really passionate without a demonic expression manifest on their face. Genuinely.
Speaking of that, look at this girl's dead eyes. Like I know she's like Christian. It's so funny.
Yeah, I don't know about this shit. She looks like she would be evil, but she's not.
The layers of irony go so deep. We're saying slave morality when Nietzsche would claim it's Christianity, and it's become the true slave morality has become abandoning religion. Who would have thought serving another master enslaves you more?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was written somewhere.
Notice how everyone was fine until Jesus. And then all of a sudden, everybody was triggered.
Would tear down the strongholds in this place. I pray, Father, that you would raise up the men in this room. Stop. I pray, Father, that you would.
No, listen. I understand in the sense of like, this show does not do that. We do not just say and everyone hold hands together and pray. We're not your priest, okay? But you have the right to say a prayer on a podium. Womp, can you think of another religious group that can maybe get away with this and wouldn't be having people saying, stop?
Yeah, no, I mean, if Muslims could do this. He could go up and talk about Allah. And part of the reason I think part of it is like nobody cares because it's not really the truth. So sorry, but then also I think like no, I'm serious. I think it's wrong. I don't know. And then of course I do. Like that's what it means to believe a religion is to think that the things that
other religions are not as true as yours.
Yeah, and especially the things that are not commensurable with yours. Duh. And so I think that the heightened spiritual reaction is that because it's like that's the truth, that's the light. And then you get killed. So that's the other piece of it is they'll fucking kill you. So it's like it's two things.
Take it seriously. Christians will be like, well, I didn't find that very nice. Well, I thought that was very mean of you to say that Christ is burning in shit.
I know we know it's so funny is these people you notice she hits every point. She's like, my little girl's not a boy. Parents should have a moral authority over their children. Men should stand up and be moral, like kind of the moral guidance of the society. The state and your idea of society, your kind of weird civil religion shouldn't be running my life. And I can preach my religion, and I believe in Christ. You know, like all of it together. Everyone's it's the worst thing that they could imagine. A lot of time, you can see in the background, it's like, it's pro-choice, it's a trans flag. It's like it's all that's of course you're gonna have people screeching.
Absolutely. And that's all we got. Do you want to keep playing it? I think that's really all we
No,
got
that's
here.
it. That's it. That's all I got.
got.
Well, that was a long one. How long did we do?
An hour and a half. But it's a minor. Listen, there's obviously something here, whether it's abuse or something. Like, God bless this person, good luck to them, and I hope God has a special place to save their soul.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining.
Skip this, by the way. We are gonna do this next time.
I don't care.
We're gonna enjoy the crash out. You know I love enjoying people crash out.
Yeah.
Give me that.
Thank you for. I think that's good. Yeah. Thank you for joining. This is episode 11 of the Chronically Right podcast. Like, share, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed our rambling today. And let us know if any more topics, any suggestions. Leave a comment or just DM me, and we will be happy to do that. God bless everybody. Take care. See you next time.
So